Hey guys and girls, Poketon King here, back with another market video. Today, we've got a lot of stuff to talk about. Been a little while since I've done one of these videos now, so there's been so much that's happened since I last did one. I honestly can't remember the last time I did one. Probably Bright Lights, I think, just after Bright Lights came out. So a lot of the stuff from Dusk Till Dawn has started to rise a little bit. Obviously, we had some new cards spoiled for Prism. The new Prism, that is, at least. So a lot of these angels, whether then the non-foil and the other ones, have started moving. As you can see, the main page on Cardmarket right now, you've got these bestsellers here, which is all stuff from Dusk Till Dawn, and you can see pretty much in literally the top 9 cards are all Dusk Till Dawn, and they're all the figments. So we'll go on to the Rapture first and kind of have a look a little bit there. There's not. With this, I think it's probably not gone up too much. It's just there was probably maybe not that many copies to begin with. 68 copies of the Rainbow 4 anyway. I want to look at the cold foil version of it. This one here, the really pretty one, the extended art one. That has also started rising as well. So the cheapest on here is €90. Price trend 71, but one day average 99. So again, these kind of cards, people are starting to spec now. Dusk Till Dawn generally was a set that a lot of people didn't love. I feel like the last couple of sets, a lot of people feel like they just didn't hit. Personally, I love Dusk Till Dawn. The set sold really well for me in terms of sealed and singles as well. I couldn't keep enough stock of it. And every time I crack a case, the singles are sold within a couple of days. For the most part, most of the singles are. And even more so now with the way the market is moving. So we'll go through some of the angels to kind of see what's been happening with those. Because it's a bit mental. And we'll go through some of the supplemental sets as well, because I want to kind of talk about those today. So Avalon, which was the playmat that I've had for so long. Prices. If you look at the UK as well, I'm going to go on the UK specifically because it can be quite hard. Again, there's one copy for 14, one single copy in the UK. Again, these are really hard. You only get a couple of these per case, so there's not that much in there. I mean, available items is 35 for that one. If we go on to I actually sold my last angel like last week, like early last week before the boom happened. And I sold my second for €7, which I think is probably the last highest sell here. So we got 3 single copies in the UK here from Soul's Bazaar. Got an outstanding. So yeah, a good trusted seller there. And then we'll go on to a couple of other random ones. I just want to see if there's actually any left. I think Themis is probably one of the cheaper ones. Yeah, there's one for 6 here. Some of the ones that are like the least popular ones. I mean, you've seen some strange spikes here. But some of the least popular ones, again, there's not that many copies. Only 54. €6 there and 10. So these really did kind of get specced up a lot. I think just because there wasn't a plentiful supply of them. I always sold out of them whenever I got them, honestly. So that was never an issue here. But we'll go on to Dusk Till Dawn properly. The actual whole set here, and we'll go on to the most expensive cards, because I'm curious if they've sort of broken into now in there, really. Yeah, you've got some of these. So I think this is the reason why for Dusk Till Dawn. I've only got this on Majestics, by the way, but you've got really good value from Majestics in this set, honestly. Now that you've got those angels up, your risk factor for this set when you're cracking is very minimal compared to any other set. It's very minimal right now. I mean, Warmonger obviously is quite hard to pull, but you know you're going to get a good money back from that. If you ignore these, this apparently is the most expensive one, and there's sales for €20. Wow. Okay. Again, Soul's Bazaar here is €36 there. 9 copies available. That is the playmat that I've been using at my local armory events, because I did start playing Flesh and Blood. So I have degened properly into the game. I'm running Katsu. I lost all my games, but I had fun and I learned a lot. But yeah, so you've obviously got some of these are really expensive. But bar that, obviously, Starstruck, is a really good card. Hold the Line, Mischievous Meeps as well. These are cards that have always been really popular, um, even in non-foil. Again, as I said, I couldn't keep stuff in stock. A lot of the rainbow foils, Sensor and stuff like that. There's some really good. There's a good spread of variety here. We'll go on to the Marvels. I'm not sure how much. We look at. I didn't know actually there was. I didn't know this was so expensive. Oh, okay. So there's none in the UK, and there's only 10 copies at all. So we'll get rid of the UK filter now because that's not going to really help us on here. Again, the market between the EU and UK is its own self, really. Yeah. So there's a German copy there. But English copy, the cheapest, 140 euros. Wow. Could have picked this up for 70 euros before. And now it's pretty much double. Just mad. I didn't know that. I wasn't really looking at the some of the Marvel ones. I didn't realize they went up. I've never pulled a Marvel one out of all the boxes and cases I've opened. Got some of the cheaper ones here. But even then, there's not that many copies of a lot of these, There's no more than, 35 is the max. So I think when you get to things like that Levia, you're not really going to see many sales. But there is good value here. And I guess we'll go into Legendary. Because I know that the Carapace as well, they got a cold foil, and this one's gone up massively. I mean, I sold mine. Not the Carapace. Sorry. What am I looking for? That's it. The Dream State, the Daem of Dream State. I sold mine quite cheap actually. I think I sold it for. Oh, actually, it's about the same price. In America, it's gone up massively. I sold mine for about 40 euros, so it has gone down. The cheapest copy in the UK is Soul's Bazaar, at 60 euros. So it's a really nice card. It's a really pretty card. Another copy there. There's a few copies in the UK, but I don't think any of these have multiple copies. One of them has 4. But it's a really stunning card. I don't know if it's going to zoom in or not. No, it won't. But the blue and the sort of cold foiling really works really well. It's such a pretty card. So that is a card that, price trend, I suppose, has gone up a little bit since it's, 1 day average, but it did drop a little bit. But Dusk Till Dawn really isn't getting opened that much. It's out of print because obviously those art sketch serials. So they can't print any more of the set. So whatever's out there is literally that. That's all there is. So, when it starts getting to the point where stores aren't stocking it, I mean, mine's LGS doesn't have Dusk Till Dawn in now. All they stock is Toa Unlimited and Bright Lights. That's all they have left, which is a shame. But yeah, that's pretty much it for Dusk Till Dawn. Obviously, the market movement there, really good set. I'd recommend cracking it again, where you've got so much split between different cards in the set, having good value. Your risk factor is low. We'll go into Everfest next. That's another set that I wanted to talk about because that's another set that's been interesting for me recently. I've been cracking cases and selling the singles. Total Cards here in the UK had a sale for £40 a box. I know in the US there was a sale for $35 a box. So there's plentiful supply of Everfest right now. Don't get me wrong, and I am still picking up cases for cheap as well. If I can get cases for 160 to 180, I pick them up all day. And if you didn't see that I did opening, I did quite well actually. I did pull the Aether Wildfire extended up, and we did pull a couple of other good cards as well. But we'll go into this. So ignore the cold foil Fabled, which, by the way, and I've said this before, the cold foil Fables are extremely, extremely hard to pull. The pull rates on those are minimal. Now, this 57 copies is purely because it's not a playable card, and the people that have pulled these are probably mostly players. But if you pull one of these, I strongly recommend not selling it and keeping it. I regret selling my cold foil Lighted Soul because that was a bit damaged. I traded it in, but it was a bit damaged, to be fair. Perhaps if it was mint, I would have kept it. But the cold foil Fables are really hard to pull. They really are. And obviously, we got Bravo here, Starvo. you've seen a bit of a rise here recently, and that the movement on this is quite, again, a very hard card to pull. Honestly, the cheapest copy in the UK is €57 right now, so it's probably about what the lowest is roughly. But your EV from Everfest is pretty good. I've been doing well. Swing big. You know, that's an expensive. I sold 2 for 50. For £50. I mean, the cheapest in the UK is €22. It's not particularly because it's been going up. It's just a consistently good card. It's a card that a lot of Brute players use. Obviously, we've got heavy hitters coming out, so Brute is going to be featured in there. We know that. So some of these cards could go up even more. I'm not saying spec on Swing Big because the price set is now. But Everfest is a good set. Obviously, you've got a lot of these cards here. If we go back into just the Majestics, Mirage and Metamorph, again, is, €17 for the low. We've got some of the Rainbow Foils, Revel in Runeblood, 1946. This round's on me, Rainbow Foil, Swarming Gloomfield, Blood in Their Hands. Even if you get, some of the cold foils are a lot better than this set than some of them. Winds of Eternity, Crown of Reflection, cold foil. This round's on me as well. There's so many good... There's a lot of good mid-range cards. I'm looking at 5 to sort of £15-20. And, you only have to keep pulling a couple of those. And the pull rates as well, because it's a subsidiary or supplemental set, you get a good range of Majestics. You generally hit about, I think, 8 Majestics per box, as well as a cold foil, and you get your extended art as well. And some of the extended art rares are worth a couple of quid as well. So it does add up, which is what I look for when I'm opening a box, and that reminds me very much of Crew. And you can see that in Dusk Till Dawn. You can see that in Everfest now. These subsidiary and supplemental sets, I know they're not doing them. I don't think they're going to do a set this coming year because we've got this expansion slot now. And I think that might short-term replace it. But I do hope that they do these kind of sets again because I really enjoy them. They can be harsh when opening at start because generally it takes a longer time for the market to understand where these cards are, I think, with these sets. You just have to look at when these sets have come out. So you look at Everfest. I mean, you look at Crucible of War when it came out. Obviously, it had a lot of reprints, but it had some new cards as well. It reprinted the Tunic and reprinted a lot of the cards from the first 2 sets, as well as having new cards. And you look at Everfest. That was hyped with Starvo, and then Starvo got LL, and then no one cared about the set. But really, actually, there was a lot of really good cards in that set. And then if you look at Dynasty, which we'll move on to in a little bit as well, and then obviously Dusk Till Dawn, which we've just spoken about. These are the sets that people were very negative upon. Generally the sets that I look at, and I know other people as well do look at that. It's not necessarily just because I'll get stuff that people don't like, because it doesn't always work out. Generally, there is general sort of opinions in there, and it can be sort of fact-based. With certain sets that just aren't great. I mean, you can look at the EV data. It's all out there. It's pretty easy to see. Seho does really good content on it as well. He's probably the best in Europe for that, honestly. Which is it's one of the reasons why I haven't done EV videos for Flesh and Blood, just because I don't think I can do it better. So there's no point, in my opinion, of doing it. There's already that product, and I'm using euros on Cardmarket anyway, so it'd be the same prices roughly anyway. But you can see the EV data out there. So obviously form your own opinion before, but it's good to get singles. For me, I'm a store, so I'm selling. But even just as a collector, getting a lot of those singles. The thing with Flesh and Blood, as I've said this before, obviously we're going to be getting 15 heroes this coming year. We've had a lot of heroes hit LL in Blitz and CC this year, and there'll be some more that hit next year, no doubt. Those earlier heroes seem to be quite well protected. They haven't, amassed a ton of points for a lot of them in the, especially the WTR heroes. But the interesting thing, and I've already said this for Flesh and Blood before, is where we don't have a rotation-based format like Pokemon. Any of these cards can be used, of course, as long as they're not LL'd with a hero, like the weapon, for instance. Even if, there's certain cards here that are really good with a certain hero, and that hero hits LL, it doesn't mean that they can't be used for a future hero. You know, I think LSS are pretty aware of a lot of those kind of things, and I think, you know, there's been some moves that have been questionable for certain people in 2023, but you know, I'm happy with the product in general. There's always going to be things they can improve on. We're only 4 years in, so you know, it just depends how reactive LSS are. The judge packs seem to be something that people are knowing about, rewarding the judge packs with such good cards like Art of War, Cold War, Extender, etc. And that. But again, Everfest is a really good set. I've been really enjoying opening it. I've made money backs on every single case I've opened. And then you know, again, the singles that don't sell, I'm just going to keep them. And eventually, you know, there might be an opportunity for some of those cards to be good. I think a lot of these cheaper cold foils, the Majestic ones, for instance, again, they're not that easy to pull, honestly. You know, and the average person isn't opening multiple cases, let's be honest. So, the same as a lot of these rainbow foil Majestics. I mean, you can see the numbers on here anyway, but this is just, we go back to the first set, the numbers on here. I mean, Swing Big Rainbow Foil, 18 copies. Mirage and Metaphor, 36. Swing Big Regular, there's 33 copies. 31 copies of the Pulverized Extended. The Extended arts are really low. You got obviously the Arcane Lantern. Again, these numbers aren't that big. This is Europe. Cardmarket. Generally, when you're buying singles in Europe, you're using Cardmarket most of the time. So, you know, I mean, Silver Palms here, 162 copies. The Stalagmite. The legendaries actually have higher. I want to go on to Stalagmite because I think it's one of the most beautiful cards I've ever seen. Obviously, the price has gone down since Oldham. I mean, I've got a copy on here anyway. I was the cheapest in UK last time I checked, but there is one cheaper now. A good seller. That is me, RatheTavernCards. I only set up the card market in August, so I've had quite a few sales since in the space of 5 months. But it's a really pretty card. I wish I could zoom in on here. Such a stunning card. I recommend any collector just having a copy. Again, it's not going to do any harm. Earthlore Bounty as well. There was, I think this spiked. Yeah, this did end up spiking a little bit, but it's generally quite cheap right now. If there was multiple copies in the UK, which there isn't, the cheapest is 30, and there isn't multiple copies, I would be looking at, there's Seho. Look at that. 9k sales. You'll see a lot of these. These are the kind of people you really can trust when you're buying from. He does a lot of box breaks as well. I know I've mentioned him before, but I do like to sort of shout out the content creators, especially the European guys. There's not many of us out there in UK and Europe compared to a lot of the US ones. And then what did we not go on to? Silver Palms, the meme. Again, obviously, we haven't got a merchant hero that's, you know, when we get those plays, I don't know why I've got 2 copies on there. But probably remove that one because I feel like that's a bit cheap. Not cheap in terms of relative, in terms of the market, and just in terms of relative of what I want to sell. But there's a lot of copies of this in. Let's have a look at the UK. I always like to look at, because you see a lot of sales here, a lot of listings here. Yeah, there's not many in the UK, honestly. They've got 5. Surprise Siglar Games aren't in here. But Silver Palms, again, it got spec'd for a while, and I know in the US, but again, it's worth having a copy of these. Crucible of War, my favourite set. I've said this multiple times in the past. It really is my favourite set. I think it's the best set they ever made, and I would struggle for them to make a better set. So the value isn't as great as it was, you know, in the past for this set, just because there's still a lot of cards in this set are really good. I mean, you just look at all the Majestics here. All the Majestics that are over 10, and you get a lot of Majestics when you open. So if you can see how many Majestics there. If we just go on Majestics, I just want to see if that was the cheapest Majestic. No, it wasn't, because there's a lot of Majestics. There is some that are worth like a little bit less, you know. But again, a lot of this stuff, you got Guardian, you got Beast stuff here, Cokes, you know, Ranger. There's a lot of random bits here, but it does add up. So if we just stay on the first page, and we'll go, obviously a lot of this is going to be rainbow foils here, but in terms of non-rainbow foils, you get a couple of rainbow foils as well. Courage of Blade foil, that's pretty much kept its price. Rainbow foil, that's always been quite expensive. Magnetic Shockwave's always been a really good one. Some of these have gone down a little bit. Generally, the equipment is really good. Bloodsheath Skeleton, the non-foil version's gone down a lot, obviously because of Runeblade. But I've been selling quite a few cards from this set recently. But there's not like a huge amount of, I mean, 17 copies of this. You know, that's not a huge amount. Considering this set is, you know, the third set, we're what, 10 sets ahead now? Something like that, you know. Probably going in, yeah, going into heavy hitters will be 10 sets ahead, I believe. So that's not including history packs. The only ones like Remorseless, you got a lot of copies on. And Fine Center. Some of them you do randomly just have tons of copies on. And there'll be probably loads of the lower valued ones, yeah. Fine Center and stuff like that. I mean, what's the cheapest Majestic? Aether Eyes. What is that, Wizard? Yeah, Aether Eyes there. Unified Decree, Feign Dev. There are some of these that are just really cheap. This whole page, they're all... So ideally, I mean, you don't want to get those Majestics if you're opening, but there's an opportunity again. A lot of these cards just aren't, they don't have a place in the meta, but a lot of my crew singles these last couple of weeks have been selling really well. I'd say since World, Flesh and Blood singles market has picked up massively. I am selling a lot of singles. One Piece took over Flesh and Blood for One Piece for singles, and then, you know, Flesh and Blood is kind of taken over now for me, which is great because you know, Flesh and Blood is my main TCG. And then we'll move on to Dynasty. Don't really know too much about Dynasty, honestly. It's not a set that I opened a whole ton of. Not because I don't think it's a great set. I think it's a really nice set, but it is a savage set. So if we look at here, this main page here is just all like special stuff. Obviously, you've got the Emperor, which is ridiculously hard to pull. CNC again, and then the Invoke Sarai. These free ones. Crown Dominion there. Black Tech. Yeah. A great boat that went up. I think I have the kimono somewhere. Yeah, the kimono's there. It was such a pretty card. These Marvels are really nice. But again, look at the copies on here. There's not that many copies for a lot of these. 18, 11. Is that Merciless Battle? Barely seen that. But again, if you... I'm not saying this is a great set to pick up. Like, if you're going to crack it. I mean, sealed, you probably can't go wrong buying it for sealed. But the drop-off here is massive. You look at... If we go for just Majestics, because Majestics is the bread and butter. If you're gonna be opening to crack for singles, Majestics is where you're gonna... Yeah, see, the drop-off here is massive. If you... I mean, even some of these cold foils are really cheap. That's mad. I saw the rainbow foil there for 5 recently. Yeah, I've got the Imperial deck. I think that was my best pull ever from this set. So this set has been absolutely savage. But if you look through, yeah, like the regular stuff, and then we're going to go on to the next one. The drop off it's a bit different this set to the other ones. The other supplemental subsidiary sets, there's a really good range of Majestics that have good value here. It really isn't. I mean, how many of these are cheap? We had to go on the last page to find these values for Crucible Aurora. Let's go right to the... Yeah. 10 cents. Regicide, which was the one that was supposed to be printed and like short printed, the legendary, but it wasn't. Obviously, they messed up with Surgical Extraction. Yeah, so many cards here that just have 0 place in the format right now. They just don't have anything. But again, as I said before, it doesn't mean these cards are always going to be this cheap. There's a lot of copies of these because everyone's selling them and no one's using them. But you know, it could be a good call to look at some of them that might have less copies on that are still quite cheap. The Rainbow Foils again, Yoji non-foil, they're just so cheap. And I think this is what a lot of the criticism is for Flesh and Blood, is there's just, you know, there's not a lot of money. Some of these sets. Dynasty has always been a savage set, and it was a set that very top heavy. You have to get the big hits or you're doing nothing. Whereas these other 3 sets that we've gone through, you can get a lot of those mid-range Majestics and you're going to make your money back, or at least you're not going to cry afterwards, because very rarely you're going to make your money back from opening a box of any TCG, let's be honest. But there are a couple of sets with Flesh and Blood now where, you know, if you look at Monarch First Edition now, I believe I saw the EV for that is actually in positive. Everfest is positive. Dusk Till Dawn will be positive right now. So there's a couple of sets there that, you know, if you're looking at cracking. But in terms of specking, you know, just obviously be careful as always. I'm not suggesting anybody make big moves here and, you know, buy out one sort of card and that. But if you're looking at picking up, it can't be, you know, it's not harmful to pick up a couple of copies of a couple of certain cards that you think could be, you know, potential. We know Heavy Hit is going to have 6 heroes in. We know that we've obviously got Kasai Adult already. You know, there's obviously people going to be speculating and talking about what potentially could be in the next set. You know, spoiler season is the rest of this month. We're in spoiler season, I guess, but not the main bit, I think, which will be like early January, where they, you know, every single day we've got like multiple cards being released, which, you know, is really exciting. I think the way they do that is something very different than a lot of TCGs. I can only hope that one day I get a spoiler card. You know, I've already said that if I get a certain type of spoiler card, what my plan is. For those of you that have spoken about it, I'd like to make it fun, a little bit of banter. Obviously, there's content creators out there that do, like, you know, they do serious spoilers and they put a lot of time and effort into the lore and that. And I love seeing those. That makes, you know, that up and coming bit to the set is one of the most exciting bits. I'm not that kind of person in terms of the content I make. Obviously, you know, these market talks aren't like banter and stuff, but I do like to have a bit of joke and tongue in cheek. And that's what I would do for a spoiler. So if you're watching LSS, you know, hit me up. I'd love to have a spoiler. Anything. Even if it's a common card. But yeah, so gone through a couple of the sets and that. Let me know your thoughts. I really enjoy reading the comments and kind of, you know, engaging. That's what I really enjoy about the Discords and stuff. There's generally a lot of healthy debate. And that, you know, that can only be for, you know, the gain for all of us really is to learn from people that have different insights. But yeah, thank you all for watching. Please comment, like, subscribe as always, and have a great day.